All right, we are here immediately following our 102 episode with our 103 Dead in the Water episode. Again, I am Mel, still drinking red wine.
I'm Aaron, now drinking a more different cider, still out of a sippy cup.
All right. So we've got Dead in the Water. Aaron, you have the summary?
Yeah, it's Wikipedia though, so it's
okay. Okay, so we're just gonna plagiarize Wikipedia.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And I promise to viewers, someday I will take proper plot summary notes. I've actually started doing it.
It'll be better when you care about the episode, probably.
Yeah. Well, it's more like, okay, this is like inside baseball, but it's more that now that we're actually recording, I'm realizing the extent to which I, having a Kuru brain, need notes, very extensive ones. Yes. Where it's like, oh yeah, when I'm record or when I'm, watching the episode, it's like, oh yeah, that's the one with,
I'll remember that.
I'll remember that. Sure won't. Absolutely will not remember that.
I
myself in the moment.
I definitely relate because I am pretty sure that I don't actually have short-term memory. I think everything is just immediately converted to long-term memory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bad.
Yeah. It's bad. Yeah. I need pills.
But all of this,
I need to be medicated.
All of this has been committed to my long-term memory a long time ago.
Yeah. You've already done that work.
I've done that work. I have even done the recall work to make sure it's accessible. It's mapped and everything.
Yeah. This is you're the star of this year's show. I'm the talking monkey. No one really knows why she's here.
We're co-stars. It's the interesting dynamic of the new person and the OG fan.
And the talking monkey.
I don't think I even told you that the actual YouTube channel descriptor is just OG fan and noob watch Supernatural.
Yeah. Succinct.
I was like,
accurate.
This is fair.
100%. Okay, so speaking of things that I've already forgotten from the episode, that they were taking a break from the search for their father, which 3 episodes in seems irresponsible, but what do I know? At least they're trying to switch it up already.
So just a reminder, this is approximately 5 weeks after they have last heard from John.
Okay. So they're taking a break. And okay, remind me, this is the episode where they're in the diner and Dean is trying to convince Sam to get laid.
Yes, that's a recurring theme.
Yeah. But at this point it is 2 months since his girlfriend died in a ceiling fire? In a way that is immediately reminiscent of how his mom died.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe don't be worried about getting his dick wet, dude. He's still having nightmares.
Yeah, maybe don't.
A wet dick does not make nightmares go away.
Yeah, I mean, that is unfortunately Dean's standard coping mechanism. We'll talk about this often throughout the series, but women are not people.
Nope.
And even though we do learn that that's definitely not how the characters feel about it. It is definitely how the writers approach it.
Accurate.
And it is very apparent in this episode.
Yeah, since they are in Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin in November.
not a bit of snow on the ground.
Can we talk about Andrea Barr's spring outfit? You're not wearing that in Wisconsin unless it's June.
Yeah. Although that being said, we Midwesterners are known for wearing remarkably inappropriate clothing when it is very cold and being oh, it's above 0, it's nice out.
Okay, yeah, but the hoodie and the shorts to pump gas is different.
I guarantee you, if I leave the house tomorrow, I will see so many pairs of shorts because it's going to be
100%. I'm already really excited about it. It's been below 0 for 2 weeks?
About 2 weeks, yeah.
About 2 weeks. I think today was the first time it went above 0 in that entire time. We may have hit 0 at one point over the last 2 weeks.
Talking about a heat
Um,
wave.
just in case someone stumbles across this like years from now, we're currently in the middle of a like polar vortex hitting basically the entirety of the US, east of Colorado.
And things are very bad for people in different parts of the country. So know that we are not truly complaining.
Right. Yep. We fully recognize how lucky we are up here. We are in areas that are sort of contributing to the issue and the solution, for Texas in particular, because we're on the same power grid, I guess. I learned that
Minnesota
this week.
is.
Fargo, yeah. The little bubble of our community is part of it.
Okay. For some reason, I thought that North Dakota was on. I guess it's not that clear cut because we're
It's almost all of North Dakota.
Chris and I were talking about.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite of what you're thinking. It's almost all of North Dakota and Moorhead.
Yeah. Okay. Because we're like in the Saskatchewan, technically, grid.
Saskatchewan. But we're still part of this SPP.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the right acronym.
Anyway,
so
we understand power infrastructure about as much as the writers of this episode understand rural water infrastructure, which is going to be a running complaint I have in this episode.
Yes. This is probably another thing for like, I'm not sure how this is handled in the rest of the world, but around here, at least, we have county water boards that handle this kind of thing that we elect. And then we have a state system that handles it even more.
Yeah. And I assume the federal government would get involved at some point.
Yeah. Like they said, I mean, it's like standard basic regulation, then states and your county.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially around here when you've got like the watersheds also.
Yeah.
Especially if your watershed happens to have a bog or a marsh that's protected area.
Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But
anyway, Wisconsin.
They head to Lake Manitak. I keep waiting for Stephen Avery to show up, and he never.
He's not there.
No, and he didn't do nothing. So.
I confused this. There's a lake in Canada that has a very similar name to Manitak, and then I always think of Montauk.
Oh, yes.
As well. Like, can you rename yourself? Manitowoc.
I
don't know. Anyway. Sorry, that was my aside.
Thank you. And so they head to Wisconsin because they're investigating an unrelated case. And
found something.
There have been 3 drownings in the last year.
Yep.
So they
forget, does the college girl dies first, right? In this one?
No, the sheriff's daughter's husband had died first.
Yes. But they didn't know that until after they spoke to her. Or they had the list. I'm misremembering the order of events because I know that a family friend died.
Yeah.
They're like godfather.
Yeah. Wikipedia just says 3 drownings have occurred there within a year.
Okay.
With the dead bodies mysteriously disappearing in the lake.
Yes.
So they, not for the first time, disguise themselves barely as they're pretending to be federal officers at this point. Am I right? Or
yes.
Yeah,
I think so. That's
state police.
I think it would
anyway, something they cannot pull off and yet briefly do.
Yeah. I find it so funny how sheriffs react to them just showing up all in their business in this, because this one clearly was like, fine. Like, I wonder how often you would actually question this kind of thing.
I mean, not a cop, full disclosure, but I would imagine every fucking time.
Every time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I guess I could ask Chris's uncle. You're like, hey, if a literal child walked in,
Swaggers in and is like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a cop XYZ place.
yeah, here's my badge number. Don't look at it too hard.
Don't look.
I've got questions about some mysterious deaths. Like,
My favorite part is that their badge numbers are like technically real, but they stole them from people.
yeah, which is immediately traceable. Like,
Okay,
not a good move.
I can't believe, honestly, how long they use their real names.
Yeah, also
Rewatching
there's
this,
that.
I'm like, I thought they always used Rockstar aliases, but I guess not.
Nope.
I am appalled how often they drop their real names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Um,
Anyway,
so
3
anyway,
drownings have
they-
occurred in a year.
Yeah. They get it. So they start ingratiating themselves with the local sheriff and his hot daughter, who is a mom to a mute young boy, who one of my main issues with this episode is going to be that this was clearly written for a much younger child. I have problems with that. And her husband was one of the first mysterious deaths. I don't know that he was the first one, but he was one of the first to mysteriously drown in the lake. Cold open, because again, this is a Kim Manners episode. Kim Manners. So there's a very X-Files-esque cold open where a young hot Wisconsinite college girl
Yeah,
goes-
that was the cold open. That's what I thought.
yeah, is going for a swim in this presumably freezing cold fucking lake because it's November in Wisconsin and nobody's that tough. And her brother makes a snarky comment about how you should stop exercising so much because guys don't like buff girls. Like, in what world does swimming make you buff? Like, tell me. Like, swimming makes you like cut. Like, it doesn't make you bulky.
That's fair.
Anyway, it's just a douchey comment, and
I mean, yeah,
then he
it's
gets-
the foot. The foot.
foot's
I'm
back.
sorry.
we have a couch guy back there. So anyhow,
That sounds so suspect. He's
so
there
she
of
goes
his
in the lake.
free will.
Yeah, I'm in no way keeping him here. No, he's got fucking Zelda going. He's fine. He's got his juice box and his Zelda. He's doing good.
Is it the DS from
Yeah.
last episode?
His PSP.
His PSP.
So we see her basically get sort of pulled down into the water. And
Yes.
one of the things that makes her death so suspicious is she was obviously a swimmer. She was a strong swimmer. No one thought that she could.
Clearly.
And they never found a body. None of these deaths did they find a body. They just all died in this lake. And the boys find that there's a water project in which I believe a dam is going to be built, which would drain the lake.
Dam is being destroyed.
Yes, thank you.
Or rather, it's falling apart and they're not going to repair it.
Which, more problems.
All the problems.
In what world would that happen? But
Well, yeah, you have to wonder, like, okay, why did you build this dam?
yeah,
Because especially in Wisconsin, that wasn't like, in my mind, I always picture like, okay, we're probably talking like civilian core dams that were very popular to be built.
Yeah.
But Wisconsin, maybe Chris knows, were there
I do not actually know.
that would be a pretty random, like, obscure thing. But it's so funny because you've got things like, even in the general region where it's like, okay, you could have covered the Garrison Dam.
Right,
Very
yeah.
hot button topic in the region.
Yeah, like you could have done this just about anywhere, but Wisconsin
Yeah.
doesn't seem to make a hell of a lot of sense. Also,
Yeah.
this lake isn't big enough to have been dammed off. Like, we're not talking Lake Sacagawea or Lake Mead, or like, this is not a large lake.
Yeah.
This, again, rural water infrastructure. There's problems here.
Right.
Um,
Especially in a place where there are plentiful lakes.
Yes. Okay. Anyhow, so they are sort of investigating these mysterious deaths and trying to figure out what could possibly be, is this supernatural, dun dun dun, or is it, just unfortunate. They start getting to know the sheriff's daughter, whose husband, I think I mentioned, had died. Her son witnessed it and he was out on the lake and was stranded on like a raft, Titanic style. It was out there for hours after his dad died. And so he hasn't spoken since, which seems like a very reasonable response to that kind of trauma.
100%.
And all he does is draw pictures with crayons and play with army men, which this is going to be a problem I will have. He does not so much play with the army men as that they are always around.
Yeah.
So they're investigating. The sheriff seems to be hiding something. They're not sure what. Meanwhile, the sheriff's son also dies, but while he's doing dishes, he fills up the kind of sink that belongs in like an old basement laundry room, not in a kitchen.
It's the brother of the drowning victim.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's because that wasn't the sheriff's kid.
No.
Sorry,
no.
I'm mistaking them.
No, so this is like a family friend.
Yes, a family friend.
Yeah.
Whose daughter had died. Thank you.
Yes.
Her brother, the one who made the douchey comment in the beginning, is doing dishes or some such and drowns again in the kind of sink that does not exist in a kitchen. But like my grandparents had a sink like this in their basement. It's not a kitchen sink. It's like
that's what I'm saying. I'm sitting here like, I mean, it is a shitty like cabin in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he pulls the plug on the sink and it starts like black water starts sort of billowing up from the tap, not the tap, the pipe. I can't talk from words.
The drain.
The
drain,
word
you're looking for is drain.
I forgot the word drain. And he reaches down there to get it and something pulls him under. And that actually was kind of a cool tense moment. Like they carried that on. I think if anything, they could have maybe let that linger a little more. But I thought that was actually like reasonably suspenseful.
They had too many people to kill in this episode.
They sure
couldn't
did.
Let it
there
linger.
is a body count in this episode. So they pull him under and he is drowned in the sink. And then the water disappears down the drain, leaving no trace.
Yeah.
And
water.
Throughout, so during their investigation, they learned that in like the late 50s, a young boy was disappeared, or he disappeared. He was not disappeared. The government didn't get involved, as far as I know. He disappeared. He was just out riding his bike one day and was gone. And I didn't write the kid's name down. Was it like Billy? It was something like that.
Yeah.
Little Billy.
Billy.
Little Billy. The trauma child. He.
Oh, like Andrea's son?
Yeah.
Or the bike kid?
Andrea's son.
Lucas,
thank you.
I thought you were talking about bike kid because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that is
that
Billy.
Was Billy. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. So Dean kind of attempts to build a little bit of a rapport with Lucas. And Lucas ends up kind of helping him by drawing a picture of this yellow house with, and they find the house and it's the mother of this kid, Billy, who disappeared however many years ago. And hold on a second, I'm mute very briefly.
Uh-oh. She must need more booze. I'm gonna
ask her to guess. To snore already, and I didn't want those glorious tones to be caught on.
Oh, he fell asleep.
Yeah, he's a big sleepy bear.
Get out! Get out!
Yeah, it's like, you're snoring already. Because that's how riveting I am to listen to, I think is the answer.
It's definitely me.
So anyway, they go to the house, they find the mom of the kid who disappeared. And she's just sort of been in limbo, wondering what happened to her poor child. and they notice that the sheriff, Andrea's dad, the sheriff, and the father of the two teenagers / college kids who died, don't seem to be very forthcoming with information. They think they might be hiding something. And so I don't remember what prompted this, but they go back to the cabin to ask the two drowning victims' dad some more questions, and they see him in a motorboat.
This is a really cool effect, though.
Maybe.
And I appreciate it. I'm like, yes, explode the boat into the air.
I don't have a great sense of how big this fucking lake is, because it does not look big enough to be riding a boat like that out in the middle of it. But it's as if the boat hits something, it explodes, and he, drowns and dies. So the lake has claimed yet another.
I mean, that's a tiny little boat.
I mean, yeah.
You would take that out if you were fishing in the middle of the lake, even that size.
Would you? I mean, it's a motorboat and it's not a big lake.
Would you just take a rowboat?
I assume.
Okay, we need to go to Turtle Lake. Turtle Lake is super small. You need to see this lake. It's literally so small you have to take turns taking your boat out on it, but people take their boats out on it.
Okay, well, I defer to your expertise. Sakakawea is the only real fishing experience I have, and she big.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, this is probably the same size of like the bay that my parents live on, lake-wise. Yeah. If you were to cut it off from the rest of the lake, and you would still take a boat out.
Okay, fair. Anyhow, I'm nitpicking. So he dies.
He dies in a very dramatic. I just appreciate it because I sit there thinking like that was probably like a fifth of your entire effects budget for this season.
Right. The CGI wave.
They used the rest of it in the like next episode with the demon.
Yeah. So at some point during all this, the sheriff he's sick of them asking questions, and he finds out that they're not actually police, and says, "You get out of town, or I'll chase you out shotgun wise," because ACAB.
Because small town Wisconsin.
Yeah. And I believe on their way out of town, they realize something. I don't know. They go to talk to Andrea, where she is drowning in the bathtub. Same thing, that dark water invades the bathtub like it did for the sun, and something pulls her under. And Dean is able to bust in and bodily heave her out of this clawfoot tub. And
they're fighting like a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah. And once again, I'm wondering, how does this town's entire water come from the lake? That's not sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Because like everything on our lake comes from the lake.
Okay.
It's all if you're on a septic rather than a full-on like sanitation system, like you would be in town, like you have to pump that water from the direct source into your septic tank container, which then has to be pumped away. So the water isn't being like cycled around like it is here. So it makes sense depending on the type of town. Like if you're thinking Detroit Lakes, for example, they have a proper like sewer system.
That's kind of, I think, more what I was thinking. Because I mean, this is a town with a main street and a, it's not just a collection of lake cabins, like a vacation property kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a town that happens to have probably sprung up from being near a lake, but there's a town proper that feels to me like it couldn't survive just with septic tanks.
Yeah. But there's also like Walker, Minnesota, where it's probably a combination of both, where like, oh, you know what, you might have well water for XYZ section, but
Perhaps I was truly the one who doesn't understand rural water infrastructure.
It just depends. I would agree this town seems too large.
Like, it just feels a little too convenient that all of the, like, everything that's water connected is hooked up to the lake solely
Yeah.
for the purpose of this.
I think I would have a
Course.
couple comments on this just because like the cabin that's right by the lake, 100%.
Sure.
I'm like there's no reason that wouldn't be on a well septic system.
Mhm.
It would get its water from the lake. It's the perhaps urban sprawl
Mhm.
that makes it harder.
Yeah.
But if all of that happened after like the house that they lived in, clearly it was his parents' house because they buried the bike there. Like they've lived there for decades.
Mhm.
It's clear that that house could have predated any actual like infrastructure that existed.
Yeah, the actual development of the town.
Yeah. So I mean, does it make perfect sense? No.
Mhm.
Is it also potential to talk about groundwater contamination? Yes.
Well, that's really what I wanted to get into. You
But
know.
I mean,
This
I
is
would
just a ruse to talk about groundwater contamination and
right.
water
But
infrastructure.
for the most part, I would agree the town itself seemed too big. But the two houses that are like especially in question, I can see potentially predating a proper
Mhm.
sewer system having been established
Yes.
and perhaps being connected
Mhm.
in the circle of life.
Yes. Anyway, so they save Andrea, and in their investigations they find that they finally get the sheriff to fess up that
Confess.
that he and the friend of his who died, who's the dramatic wave boat death, had this friend named Billy who was younger than them, and so they picked on him, obviously. And one of them grew up to be a cop. Who knew how that worked?
Talking.
But they were apparently holding him under the water in the lake. So it's not so much that they picked on him as they tortured him. So they were holding him under, and they held him under a little too long and accidentally killed him. And rather than face the potential consequences of this, because I mean, being children, they buried his bike
Yeah.
next to the lake, dropped his body into the lake, which, okay, they didn't weight it or anything. Am I right? They just let it go,
I believe that's correct.
which would have floated. Just saying, gases, decomp. Anyway.
Yeah, but only
anyway.
it depending on how big the lake was, it would have eventually sunk again.
Sure.
I mean,
Anyhow,
would it have more likely washed up on the shore
Yes.
before doing that? Yes.
There are houses along this lake. Someone would have found him.
Let's pretend that the lake has a drain in it.
There's a drain plug in the bottom of the lake.
Ugh. That is a disgusting scene in Final Destination, like 3.
Oh, Final Destination.
I love those movies. They're so bad, but so great.
And so they basically determined that the ghost of Billy is haunting the lake. Now, what brings him out now? Who's to say? Aside from this dam that's apparently going to break and drain the lake, and like he dead kid ghost procrastinated and needs to like get all his revenge. Like he has to cram all his revenge in now because he hasn't been doing it the whole time. I don't know. Anyhow.
No, so I think more bodies had gone missing over time.
Okay, I probably just didn't catch that or remember it.
Which to me, it's like, God, if you fucking drain that lake, how many fucking bodies are down there?
Well, didn't they did eventually like sweep the lake. Like the sheriff did not want to agree to sweeping the lake to check for the bodies. And we find out it's because he assumes that, dead Billy's in there. And they finally agree to it and they don't find anything.
Yeah, they don't find anything.
Also, what's Billy doing with the fucking bodies?
Yeah.
I have questions. So they realize Billy's trying to get his revenge, and they are like, okay, we have to find his body, burn it, salt the ashes.
And they're like desperate. Tell us you didn't leave him there.
Yeah. Like, we let him drop into the lake.
They're 12.
Yeah, we didn't know.
I
So-
have no questions about this backstory. I'm like, all of this tracks.
I mean, sure. Like, shitty kids do shitty things, panic. That's the most believable part of all of this for me.
Yeah.
Um,
At least they didn't have Slender Man as an excuse, like those other 12-year-olds that stabbed their friend.
Yeah,
What the fuck is Wisconsin doing? God.
it's full of serial killers too.
Yeah. Jesus.
That much cheese ain't healthy.
The
It's
Midwestern
also
joke.
It's also the drinkinest state.
Not North Dakota?
Yeah, no, Wisconsin's more drinkinest than we are.
Because of the colleges. They're
They
bigger.
do have more colleges.
Okay.
Fun fact: at one point, at least 2 of the major cities in North Dakota were, I think we were at 1.2 and 3 in the nation for binge drinking.
Yeah. Maybe
There's
it's
nothing
still
else to do.
beer. I thought North Dakota still had like one drinking title. Something to redeem it, or at least explain the hate crimes per capita.
Yeah, I mean, I think good old fashioned racism explains.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway,
Womp womp.
womp womp.
Apologies,
So-
everyone. I promise we have done everything we can up till now and will continue to do so to try and make that situation better.
Vote blue, everybody. So they despair as to figure out what to do, and they send Andrea back to the house with Lucas. And here's the part where I feel it's very strongly that Lucas was supposed to be played by a younger actor, because the fucking army men. This is Chekhov's army man. It finally fucking matters that he's playing with crayons and army men, even though we never see him playing with the army men. They're just scattered about, because one of them's like floating in the lake, and Lucas toddles over to it like a toddler to fish his army man out of the lake. It's like, this kid is clearly like 11 years old. Like,
I was about to ask, like, how old do you think this actor is?
He would let that shit go. Like, seriously, that action only makes sense if he is a tiny child.
That's so funny. I always read him as like 5 or 6.
Oh, well, I think the character was supposed to be 5 or 6, but he looks about 11. Like,
Let me see how old this poor child is.
He looks too old for that shit to make sense, is what I'm saying.
In case we were wondering about like any of these names other than Andrea and Lucas, because those are the only ones I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad's name, the sheriff, is Jake.
Okay.
Bill Carlton was the
Bill
killer.
Carlton, yes.
Was the killer.
Mm-hmm.
It's Peter.
Okay. Oh, the kid was little Peter.
Little
The one-
Peter.
Little Peter.
Peter Sweeney.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's find out. Oh my god, this child is old now. Can't handle it.
So are we.
Yeah, but this kid is like forever immortalized in film as like 5.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how old you are. Oh, he was in an episode of Twilight Zone.
Hmm.
You don't have an age. Tell me your birth date. What the hell? Well, if it's not on IMDb, I don't know if it's going to be anywhere. You continue with the review. I'm going to see if I can find how old this kid is.
Anyhow, he looks, whether or not he actually is the age the character specified to be, he looks too fucking old for it to make sense, at least for me.
That's fair.
So Lucas is bending over the dock into the lake to get this stupid army man that he could probably get 17 of for a quarter. and
You think this kid knows about money?
yes, he's like 10. He probably has a fucking allowance. A ghostly child's hand reaches out, which is actually pretty creepy. It kind of reminded me of, although I haven't actually seen it, don't judge me too hard.
I hate looking up shit like this because anytime
Friday
I'm
the
looking
13th.
up a child actor, they're dead.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Friday the 13th when Jason Voorhees comes out of Camp Crystal Lake at the very end.
I didn't see that.
But so pulls him into the water, and Sheriff Dad, no, take me, and like Dean jumps in to try to save the kid, and then Sheriff Dad also jumps in or gets pulled in, and the kid, the ghost takes him instead, and is like, well, I killed everyone I needed to kill. Time to die. And
Yes.
Lucas finally starts talking again. The end.
He was 8.
Still too old to be doing that.
I mean,
He
I would
does-
agree. Like, let's see. I was probably 7 the last time I did something like horrendously stupid around water.
Mhm.
I almost killed my brother. Was trying to get him into a boat. Dropped him.
Whoa.
And I had to hold him up because I couldn't lift him because he was a fat baby. He was a toddler.
That's how.
I was 7. He would have been 3. But my sad little 7-year-old arms could not.
I haven't developed upper body strength yet.
Yeah,
Small
fun.
child.
Not so fun fact. A very popular game to play when you grow up on a lake is Help Me, I'm Drowning.
Oh God.
And so sometimes if you're actually drowning, people don't come very fast. But he's alive. My brother made it, fortunately.
He lives.
It's one
I
of
know, I've seen him.
4 potential drowning incidents in his life so far. We'll see how that goes.
Let's see. What do I have here for notes? So, notes. Character notes. I had very few because everyone in this episode is very generic.
Yes.
Because there's a large body count,
Yes.
and they just had to get through it.
Mhm.
It's kind of a slasher movie murder machine kind of scenario.
Yeah.
This is not. Feel free to rein me in or actually structure this conversation. But the one note I had, they're trying to figure out where this house is in relation to other things based on the drawing that Lucas had made. And they're
The
like,
fucking white church that's on
Yes.
every goddamn
Yeah,
corner in the
exactly. House in a
Midwest.
church. And he's like, someone says, bet there's less than 1,000 around here, meaning churches. They've never been to the Midwest.
You lose that bet, Sam.
There's so many churches here.
And
Churches,
Like-
banks, and bars.
they
all we
also
have.
look a lot like that. A lot of them look like that.
I feel like more of them look like IHOPs. There's that Brian Regan joke. That's like, you ever been to an IHOP? It looks like a modern Lutheran church.
Lutheran churches.
They do that fucking early aughts horror movie jittery jump cut thing that I hate.
Mm. You
It is
hate
very-
it
it is
because
kind
it
of-
affects you, or
No, I just don't care for it. It bothers me. It
Oh.
just annoys me. It's kind of, this is very much like I think they're going for like a slasher, almost kind of a slasher movie kind of thing. Maybe not quite slasher,
Hmm.
but it definitely has that early aughts and how it's filmed and whatnot. But it's, there's a killer, relevant people are dying, based on some sort of shared
I mean,
guilt,
yeah, I describe a lot of these Monster of the Week ones as like a procedural show,
Mhm.
like a procedural cop show, but obviously they're not cops.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's a formula to the Monster of the Week ones that they shake up sometimes, and I really like the ones where they end up shaking them up because this one feels pretty dry.
Mm-hmm.
I find it so interesting. I don't know if you're feeling this, but I feel like I am getting like character whiplash from Dean at these points. Like they're not really sure what to do with him. Because like you mentioned in the last episode, it's like, oh, he's kind of like insensitively trying to get his brother to sleep with someone to get over his dead girlfriend, even though that's a very traumatic experience.
And it's not been very long.
And I'm sitting here like, oh, this is actually a lot more sensitive than I can imagine him responding to this similar thing like later because of how it ultimately happens. And then in this episode, we see this is not mentioned in the show, but this is just kind of an extended context note from the canon, non-canon John's Journal book.
Yes.
They kind of suggest this a few times in the show, but after their mom died, Dean was actually mute for quite a while, and leaving that out hurts the way he's able to relate to Lucas a lot.
Yeah, I think they do a pretty good job of being like, okay, it's a little clumsy, and it's more, again, the problem with a lot of these early episodes is you're told they don't like really trust the audience enough to let impressions kind of do some work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of just direct exposition or telling, and he does that with Lucas, where he's like, yeah, I lost someone close to me too. And so I mean they make that pretty clear, I think.
Okay.
Even without that sort of that specific, like, hey, I didn't talk for a minute either because I was remarkably traumatized,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, it's one thing that I'm pretty cool with, actually, but this isn't the best example of it, but I feel like in a lot of these early episodes they're really playing with genre. And they tend to be kind of using, like, they keep it very strict to each episode, it seems like, where they're playing with genre tropes, but they're not like picking and choosing, like this seems like, the more I think about what I know of Friday the 13th, it feels a lot like they're not at a camp.
Yeah.
But other than that,
yeah.
Yeah. It's
so
guilt. It's a evil entity. It's, it feels kind of, again, I don't know if slasher is the right term for it because no one's really being stalked necessarily, but it's close enough. And it feels kind of like they're playing with with those sort of horror tropes.
Yeah.
They're just not, and they're like the scene with the brothers drowning in the sink, or the creepy hand reaching up out of the water to pull Lucas down. Like those, it's not like those moments were in any way surprising.
Yeah.
But they were reasonably suspenseful, I thought, and fairly effective, from a horror standpoint.
Yeah.
And I think they do a lot more, they have a lot more fun maybe with some, I'm thinking of an episode later on in the season where they do a lot more of that sort of playing with tropes, the horror tropes, that it's kind of fun to see that happen.
Yeah. They definitely don't like shy away from those things. They're like, whatever, it's been done and people have loved it.
Yeah.
Great.
Right. I mean, they're sort of in a position where they kind of have to wear it's either you don't acknowledge your influences or don't. Like, but if you don't acknowledge them, you're going to get called ripoff.
Right, for sure.
You might as well wear them proudly.
Yeah. So a couple of notes that like I have about this episode in general. Everything about that bathtub scene, I was just like squirming and cringing, like hate it. Because I don't know if you've ever like bathed in dirty water. But that is just such an uncomfortable feeling, and all I can think of, like, oh, you need to get like some medication, you need a tetanus shot, like, even if it's just, and there's always a part of me anytime water is involved, I'm like, can you not feel how cold and disgusting this is? Because I can always feel how cold and disgusting dirty water is.
Right.
Oh no.
I thought you meant like the fucking softcore Cinemax shooting of that scene up before, which again is also like, if you want to say that's a horror trope, it kind of is.
Yeah, and
like,
that's how I definitely read it. I'm like, okay, you've got the blonde girl drowning in the lake, but you couldn't sexualize that the way you can this hot single mother
I'm gonna light some
bathing.
candles and have some me time.
Which,
But
because we're just following this up, Andrea is also in Cabin in the Woods.
oh, funny. And yeah, I mean, that's part of the problem with one of the many problems with sexism, is in media and representation. Like, you know, are they smartly using sort of
Right. Why couldn't she have just been brushing her
sexualized-
teeth?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, are they making a commentary on it by using like these sort of the sort of overly sexualized trope with the, you know, the sort of creepy, you know, killer's eye view,
Mhm.
like the sort of voyeuristic you know, shooting of it, that, you know, is it a commentary on how often that happens in horror movies, or even just a reference to it, even if not a commentary on it,
Right.
that they do that? Or is it just garden variety? Hey, hot lady, she's gonna drown in a bathtub and we're gonna make her all sexy first. Like, I think it's the second one. Like, you could
I
make an
would
argument for the first, but I don't really think so.
no, I'm very inclined to say that it's the second one. It I'm sure that at one point there was a comment made about like, no, this happens all the time in horror. Like, I can see
if it even got questioned is the thing. And I mean, again, one of the many, it feels kind of pointless to point out that none of the female characters in this show or in this episode have any character at all, aside from mother, widow, you know, characteristics.
yeah.
Not character.
So-
Because nobody in this episode does.
Yeah. One of the things I will say, this is the first episode. I mean, it's only episode 3, but it's the first episode that is written by women rather than the male writers. So I can 100% see that potentially being introduced when they're doing, say, a quick read through by the male counterparts at the table. And I mean, obviously this is all speculation, but knowing my own experience with like introducing things to a table of people who are of varying genders and experiences, often there is something that stands out that they're like, no, you gotta have this. And I can totally see these two women writers being like, no, but fine.
Well, it's an efficient way of putting her in peril.
Yes.
You all right?
I'm fine. Everything's okay. I just don't want to break my glass.
Oh no. Which one?
We're drinking to me not becoming an alcoholic.
Yay.
This wine is not quite awful, but it's no flute wine.
No.
Dear viewers, if you have not already watched Schitt's Creek, it is delightful.
I won't say turn this off and watch it, because please give us the attention we so.
But we'll be done soon enough that, you know, maybe
you should
it doesn't have to be a decision you have to make.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's less narratively. I don't think it's not that it doesn't make sense narratively for her to be like, bathtub, drowning, dudes come in and save. Like, that makes sense to me. It's just the way it's shot.
Yeah, I just,
you know,
there's something about her taking like the dirty water sponge or washcloth and like wiping her face that I'm just like, I can't handle any of this scene. And it's entirely that like dirty water is disgusting. And I fully admit that I'm probably not quite like germophobic, but everything about this really squeaks me out.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever had to bathe anywhere near brackish lake water, it's not cute.
Get your shots. So then just a couple other people like Dean and kids. I love when they throw Dean at children or children at Dean, whichever way you're looking at it. It always amuses me.
That was one line that I thought was kind of silly, was like they're talking about Dean was talking to Andrea and it's like, oh, I love kids. And Sam says,
when have you ever been around a kid?
Or he says, do you even know any kids? I'm like, do you have to know specific kids to like or dislike kids? Like, is that how
Right.
it works?
Yeah.
Like, I like my nephew, by and large, don't care for children.
Don't care for children.
Like,
yeah.
love a baby. Babies are cute as shit. Like, whatever. But like, by and large, I'm not somebody who,
Well, right.
is in a real hurry to hang out with children.
Especially for someone who has literally like never lived somewhere more than a few weeks at a time since they were 4. Like, what kind of a question even is that to ask?
Yeah, like whose kids would he know? Exactly.
Right, exactly. Whose children do you want me to name?
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like a weird criterion for liking or like for proving that you like or dislike kids.
Right. And then the other thing that really stands out, I don't really want to talk about my last note, but it's another Dean note because this is kind of a theme that I noticed significantly while watching it, and this is one of the like first episodes that really shows it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that kind of consistently Dean is the community builder for them who connects to people, whereas Sam kind of ultimately connects romantically to someone. And not that he and Andrea like have a romantic connection, but it's clear that if one of the two of them, if anything were to happen, it would be Sam.
Oh, see, I feel the opposite. I think Dean.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
because he's making that connection with her kid.
Yeah, I mean, I get that,
Was
but
he the one who digs her out of the tub too, or was that Sam? Now I don't remember. I thought it was Dean.
I don't remember.
That's the Oracle.
Dean would make sense, but
yeah, maybe it was Sam. I feel like it was Dean, but now that I'm saying that,
I guess my thought is Dean would have gone to Lucas.
Yeah, that also is perfectly likely.
This description says the boat full on explodes. Not even just tossed in the air. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't think literally in terms of like combustion, but yeah, it explodes.
Yeah. Sam pulls her out of the water.
Okay, it was Sam. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean,
yeah,
obviously that would just be a like, holy shit, we're alive, like one night sex, but
yeah, I feel like
but she also kisses Sam on the cheek and not Dean.
Oh, okay, yeah, I kind of did forget about that.
That was the big thing where I was like, this. Yeah. I agree. It doesn't make sense that it would be Sam rather than like, Dean.
He's just the odd man out. Like he's the one left.
Yeah, he just stands there awkwardly with his sandwiches and pie.
Yeah,
love that man.
Because yeah, at least in these early ones, I definitely see Sam more as the one who's making connections with people, insofar as he convincingly does that in the show, which he doesn't.
I mean, the big guy's soft voice thing.
Big guy's soft voice. That's really all it is. It's so he makes some snarky comment, and Sam goes, "You know, anything you can help us, anything you can do."
Yeah,
you know,
I think that's why I called it community building. Like, I know that I said connecting with people, but like, it's far more about that. It's highlighted in the next episode even more. Mm-hmm. But like, Dean just remembers people, and he's so good at that, and that's why, even though we have to suspend some disbelief, like there's a reason people let him through the door. Mm-hmm. And like the fact that after hearing Barr was their last name or whatever, mm-hmm. he's like, hey, wait a second, go back to the first victim. Like he makes those connections.
He's the investigator. Like,
yeah, in a way that Sam just doesn't seem to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I have a headcanon as well.
Oh, okay.
My headcanon is that Sam thinks Dean doesn't like children because Dean would occasionally or probably constantly act like Sam annoyed him when they were kids.
I mean, that's just standard older sibling shit.
Well, exactly. But if that's his only experience with Dean and children is himself, it would make sense.
I guess.
Okay, so I want to talk about why this was one of the most memorable episodes for me from season 1. And it's very specific to my first bout of insomnia when I was in kindergarten from the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, where there's like a sunken treasure chest ship and the guy has stolen the treasure, and so the ghosts are like attacking him for their gold back.
Oh my god, why don't I remember that one?
I don't know, but it's amazing. And let me tell you, little kindergarten age me was like, I know it's not real. I know it's just a show, but I can't fucking fall asleep. And to make matters worse, for whatever reason, I had a water bed at the time.
Because that was on brand for the time and place.
So that is why this episode in particular holds like very vivid amazingness to me, is because it just connects me to that time when I was 5 and couldn't fall asleep because all of this is terrible.
Poor baby.
I wonder what that episode was called. I'm gonna look it up.
That happened to me with the little boy who froze to death. Episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? And they cut to like his little Victorian child ghost, and he's just a small child painted blue. And I'm cold is all he ever says, and that scared the ever loving
Absolutely
piss out of
not.
me.
Thank you.
Oh my god, no, I could not.
Dear two viewers, again, if you have never watched Are You Afraid of the Dark, I know most of it's available on Prime.
All on YouTube. Watch it. It's so good. I mean, it probably is not, but I have lots of happy nostalgia feelings about it scaring the shit out of me and still watching it.
I watched about 2 years ago the like movie that they made, the
Oh, yeah.
Tale of the Silver Sight.
Yeah.
That should be like remade
Hmm.
because it's honestly really solid, but it needs a little updating as far, I mean, it was a TV show. They didn't have anywhere near the budget they needed to make it like look super awesome.
Right.
But I want nothing of the soundtrack to change. Because can you hear the guitar? It's so great. Tale of the Cutter's Treasure. Oh god, it was even like
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
yeah.
remember.
But that is why this episode, like even today, I'm like, I know logically that this is not a terribly like scary or good episode. Like I can
Mhm.
admit that, but it just threw me back. Admittedly, at the time, it was probably 10 years, like throw me back 10 years.
Mhm.
So we're talking 25 years in the past at this point.
That's fabulous.
But like this episode still makes me think of that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. This is bad. I'm going to start seeing fog roll under my door, just like when I was 5 and, hallucinating because 5-year-olds should not stay up.
I mean,
all night.
if you want to lean into that, have you ever seen the John Carpenter movie The Fog?
No.
It's
Wait,
on Prime.
the like really shitty one where they all die? Oh,
No.
spoilers. Spoilers.
No, that's The
Spoilers.
Mist.
They're-
That's Stephen King.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
It's like,
no,
boo.
no. This is John Carpenter. It's The Fog. It's got fucking Adrienne Barbeau, who is my goddamn queen. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. It's good. It's good. But there is, as the title would imply, fog, and there's not so much pirate ghosts as like vengeful spirits. There are ghosts, and it's good. I like The Fog. I like it a lot.
Okay.
It's on Prime. If you watch it, you are going to want to be Stevie Wayne when you grow up, because I know I do.
I
Adrienne
cannot-
Barbeau- Adrienne Barbeau is Stevie
Cannot watch
Wayne.
that tonight because I'm already probably not going to sleep thinking about this stupid pirate episode.
I mean, you can just lean into it. Just straight up lean into it. I think you're in the right headspace to watch The Fog.
It sounds like I need to watch Great British Bake Off, to be honest.
Never a bad choice.
Did you watch Nadia Bakes?
Not yet. Love Nadia.
Pretty great. There's
Love
a
her.
shit, what was it? I have to read this like verbatim because it was like, this speaks to me. Oh, it was I love baking to de-stress because yoga is hard. Might even have said painful, and
Uh-huh.
baking cakes gives me cake. is like, Nadia, bless you. I need
Relatable.
so much more Nadia. Even though she stole my like 2 ideas for my like kitchen hacks series.
Simultaneous
Don't waste
discovery.
time cutting up, dicing your onions, folks. Just throw it in a food processor. No one cares.
I always feel like it's more work to clean my food processor when it truly isn't. I just built it
You
up
have
in
a
my head.
dishwasher? Am I making that up?
I do have a dishwasher. It's just I never said it made sense. It feels like a lot to me.
Just throw it in the
And
dishwasher.
it's extra stupid because I cry like a bitch every time I cut onions. Like even green onions.
So
make me
you're just
fucking
stubborn.
screaming. Like it is cartoonish and ridiculous. Like I'm just set in my ways and dumb. Oh, and I also thought it was great that when Dean jumped into the water after Lucas, that he took the time to execute proper. Actually, both of them, I think, 'cause they both jump in the lake, don't they? They both take the time to execute proper diving form.
They do.
Like,
I noticed that too, and I really enjoyed that.
Like obvious.
There's some really funny outtakes from this episode.
Mhm.
That's something I'm definitely gonna have to get you the DVDs for, so you can watch all of the bloopers and outtakes from the seasons.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, they help a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing any of this show got made when you watch some of these bloopers, because they prank each other and everyone a lot. And like there's a point where eventually, when we get to that kind of like third main character, he and Jared like can't film scenes together, so they would have to write them or film them differently because they just can't be trusted on set together because they just fuck around. They don't work.
I don't love a prank. Like
I do. I mean, I enjoy pranks. I think there was potential for bodily harm reached at a certain point.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I know that was probably a lot of build up for something that's not as great for you, but that is why this episode is so great for me.
Yeah, overall, like, again, maybe it's just because I've been watching a lot of not old horror movies, but like kind of, classic horror movies lately.
Is it
I kind
because you're watching this?
Huh?
Is it because you're watching Supernat?
No, but I mean, like the fact that like I was getting sort of genre, moments out of this episode is probably due to that, and it definitely comes up more and is, I think, done a little bit more coherently, or with maybe a little bit more intention in later episodes. But
a lot of this, I have difficulty thinking, okay, this is early 2000s. I have one season to prove my worth and a minimal budget. And that's where I think a lot of these more tropey things, I'm not saying that it might not have been written in, but like, what are you going to do? Have a phantom waterfall choker in the bathtub rather than just a creepy hand? Like,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, it when you're playing with tropes, it becomes an easy shorthand. And it's like, this is a new series where they're trying to connect with people and they don't know how long they're going to have, presumably.
Yeah.
So what are some easy ways we can connect with people? Like, horror movie tropes, they're well known,
Well, my generation was freaked the fuck out by this episode because of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, man. Yeah, and so by and large, other than that sort of like kind of thing, the tropiness and the horror stuff, like by and large, this didn't super work for me.
No, and I totally get that. Like I said, I can fully acknowledge, like, this isn't that scary. This isn't even that good.
Yeah.
But because I have that quite sense memory connection, but like this very vivid, like childhood connection.
Yeah. There were a couple of cool moments, that I appreciated. X-Files Corner. So
X-Files Corner.
The main one that this reminded me of was Quagmire, which, aside from me not loving this episode, anything is going to pale in comparison because Quagmire is a fucking classic. They're in a town in Canada where there's a something.
Okay, hold up.
Yeah.
You're bitching here, saying it makes total sense that the FBI is walking in and they're in a town in Canada?
Oh wait, maybe they're not in Canada. Everything feels like Canada because they shot in Vancouver for like the first 7 seasons.
I mean, to that same effect, all of this is in Canada.
Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna tell. I associate it with Lake Champlain. You know, the Champ, the lake monster. Not to spoil anything about Quagmire. People think it's a lake monster, basically, and so maybe it wasn't Canada. Hold on. Now I gotta look. Season 3, episode 22.
You need to get you a setup like mine where you have 2 monitors and your notes are...
Also directed by Kim Manners. Kim Manners.
We're going to have to record that at some point so I can just play it and we don't have to say it.
Okay, no, they're in Georgia. So yeah,
Georgia.
I totally made that up. I was making connections to Lake Champlain.
Not Canada.
Not Canada. Other than all the people in Georgia who inexplicably, you know, talk kind of like this, eh? But sorry, that was a despicable Canadian accent. I apologize to everyone who's ever been to Canada.
I genuinely cannot wait for us to get to the Benders episode.
Christ on a bike. But yeah, so there is something in the lake is killing people. Lots of unexplained deaths surrounding a lake. And there's an old town legend of a lake monster, but you get a lot more sense of character, and you get like characters like capital C, like the guy who runs the general store, and you know, this guy who's this ecologist, biologist guy who's studying frogs and is pissed, and you know, you do get it, and then this town kook who wants to prove that Big Blue, the lake monster, is real. And you get these sort of little character moments that really ground it and makes it feel like a real place, where this feels like a backlot with a fake lake.
I wonder if you can do me a favor, like going forward, writing like what episode these are. Like, is this a season 5 episode of X-Files?
It's a season 3. Season 3, episode 22.
Okay, that you're comparing to the 3rd. Okay. Because I think that I have seen a lot of X-Files. I have no context of when.
Oh, for at what point? Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I can do that.
Because like, I'm not saying that these aren't fair criticisms, but again, I'm okay, if you're comparing a season 3 episode to the 3rd episode,
totally.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Fair or not, my brain's gonna do it. And I'm gonna have to say it out loud or I explode. And it does the kind of creepy folklore-y Americana thing that I hope we see more of in Supernat. It seems like they 3 episodes in haven't had a chance to do that a ton. And so I think that's gonna, maybe get explored a little bit more as we go. Also, Rip Queequeg.
Oh, Rip who?
Queequeg.
Oh.
And if anyone hasn't checked doesthedogdie.com for the episode Quagmire.
Okay.
Belly's dog Queequeg.
Does the Dog Die actually tracks a lot more than whether or not just the dog dies. It is a beautiful website that will tell you whether or not there is like gaslighting or perhaps sexual violence or whether or not a dragon dies. I'm not sure why that's on there or how often that happens, if it's like just for Never Ending Story and if they're counting that as a dragon, I'm not sure. Or the horse.
Shadowfax, why?
So I genuinely thought you were talking, what is its name? In Black Cauldron.
Oh, fuck.
I thought that's what you had said, whatever his name is.
God, it's been a minute.
Why can't I
No,
remember?
Moby Dick is going to come up yet again because that's where her dog's name is Queequeg, who's a character in Moby Dick.
Gurgi.
Oh, Jesus.
Gurgi. I thought
I
that's what you
haven't
had
seen that movie in like 30 years.
Okay, so that's a lot of Moby Dick references.
It's 3, in fact.
3, 2 on record.
Okay, 2 on record. Fine. 1 off record.
2 on
Again, it comes up on the X-Files a lot.
Well, that's
there's an undercurrent or a sort of a through line thematically of Moby Dick.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about like this is the format. Aaron's going to talk about.
Oh no, that's
X-Files.
completely incidental.
Yeah, the Moby Dick and the Cabin in the Woods discussions were just they just happened.
Yeah,
because but I gotta tell you, the first time, I know we talked about this already, you don't enjoy Cabin in the Woods, but the first time I saw Cabin in the Woods and she popped up on screen, I was like, huh, didn't I see you like 8 years ago in something?
I should give it another try, but I don't like Joss Whedon as much as I feel as though I'm supposed to.
No.
And again, anything that's too meta, I have kind of a hard time with.
I don't like. I enjoyed it as a parody of like classic horror tropes.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that. Sigourney Weaver pops up at the end, and you're like, "Fuck,
I mean, that
Sigourney
was
Weaver,
I mean, Queen, put her in everything."
And there's something. I mean, the Benders make another appearance in there.
Oh, good.
Murder zombie family.
God.
And I mean, for myself, there's also something very satisfying in this idea that like now humans destroyed themselves, so fuck it. But I don't think you would need to give it another shot. I am not saying that at all. It just so happened that this shit happens in there.
Okay.
And I mean, given the time period, I don't think that it's too much of a stretch that like there's a reason that all of these things are coming up at the same time. But God, that movie came out probably 5 years after this, but I don't know. Point is, this episode made me think of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode that scared the shit out of me as a kid. Go watch Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because I can only assume that if you're watching this, you have already seen Supernatural.
Yeah.
Or you're friends of me and Aaron.
Yeah. In which, hi guys.
Hi.
And you should go watch The Fog because I'm telling you, it's not actually.
I'm in the perfect
scary.
time to not sleep tonight.
Perfect fucking mode to actually.
I gotta sleep so I can get up for an 8 a.m. Zooter race that I want to fake track.
I mean, that's a personal choice you made.
It's true.
You're really gonna squander this emotional moment when you could be watching fucking Adrienne Barbeau be an awesome
Fog.
DJ. Yeah, Adrienne Barbeau is a DJ in a lighthouse. Like, what more do you need? Did Janet Leigh's in it?
Did you ever see? I think it was called The Darkness or Darkness Falls. That's what it was called.
Oh, I remember it vaguely. I might have seen it.
Terrible.
There's one called Darkness Falls.
No, this was a movie where a like local tooth fairy legend.
Okay.
And it's like bad. It's so bad.
That's one of those movies like Jeepers Creepers that I remember it coming out when it did. Like,
yeah, it
made an impression, but I never actually saw it.
So
I've only very recently started watching horror movies because I'm a massive baby. I'm very easily frightened. The first time I remember being just ass-clenchingly, existentially terrified was as probably a 4 or 5-year-old child watching the Statue of Liberty walk down the street at the end of Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, so it was not the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode?
No, it was very early. And then when I watched Ghostbusters 2 as an adult, I was like, this isn't even shot scary. It's like, your love is lifting me higher. The fucking Statue of Liberty. I'm like, Christ, I was a literal baby.
That's so funny. The movie that freaked me out a lot, even though I was like 9 when it came out, Twister. I had like irrational fears of tornadoes.
I think that makes sense. Like, it's a force of nature you cannot control.
Maybe it's a rational fear, but at an irrational level.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you took it too far. But like,
but
you know,
I
9-year-old can't conceive of that.
I don't even know that like the tornado scared me as much as like the scene where the dad is ripped out and I'm like, why the fuck are you grabbing the goddamn door? Like, it's just like, did you ever watch the Superman, the Henry Cavill? I think that's his name. The like Dawn of Superman or
oh, you must know that I have not.
The newer one.
Zack Snyder can suck eggs.
Yeah, so again, the fucking dad does something so goddamn stupid. It's to save the dog. The dog does not die, but the dad dies again. Even though Superman, Clark Kent, right there, who would even question it? Let him run and save the dog, and then no one has to die stupidly. Why grab the goddamn door?
Because Zack Snyder's trash?
This wasn't Twister.
Oh, Twister.
The dad runs away from the family, crouched in the corner. I'm like, this is what your stupid cellar is for. Goes to hold the door down. Why do you think you can hold the door down? This is so stupid. And I, like, most of Twister I enjoy a lot, but I'm like, the very premise of it is so stupid to me that I'm like,
but it's pulp, right? I mean, it's for funsies. It's like a 50s disaster movie with better effects and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Food. Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman is what it
or a
is.
70s disaster movie, I guess. 50s was more giant animals. 70s was disasters.
Yeah. There's something about it to me that I'm like, why? No one else got sucked out of the basement. Just you grabbing the stupid door, even though somehow, like, clearly you know this is not a good decision. Who wrote this?
Was Dad in need of like a redemption arc or something?
It was right at the beginning. This is how it starts.
Oh, I got nothing then.
This is Helen Hunt's character's like background. She saw an F5 as a kid and it killed her dad.
Oh shit.
Which, traumatic, except that why did he run to grab the door? I can hold the cellar door down even though there's a tornado coming. That's not how it works and you know it.
Seriously, what have we been talking about? Male confidence.
Male confidence.
It's intoxicating.
This explains why the boys can just walk into any department, pretend that they belong there.
Hello, I'm
other men believe them.
Hi, my name is Officer Bobby Policeman.
I have a police badge. Okay.
Don't look too close. It's definitely not made of plastic. I need to see all of your database.
Oh God, which I don't know that we've reached that episode yet. What?
Can I access the case files, please?
Right. I don't think we've reached there yet, but there's a point where someone full on is like, oh, well, you can fill out the chain of custody paperwork. And they're like, what? And my dumb ass like, oh, I took forensic science in high school. I know all about it. Forensic science is fascinating.
And mostly bullshit.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It is fun.
CS.
I love, you know me, I love a forensic file. But every time I see like someone was convicted on like blood spatter evidence, I go, oh no.
Oh no.
You're probably innocent, except you're the husband, so you're not.
It's almost always the spouse.
Bells did it every time.
There was a lot more to go off than the blood spatter.
Or like
Gonna-
fucking fiber evidence, or even ballistics. Like,
So that was one of the things when I took this forensic science class, it was already an issue, the like CSI effect where
Christ,
no one
yeah,
wants
yeah,
to
yeah.
confirm someone's guilty unless there's DNA evidence. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
I need a guy in a lab coat telling me things that sound sciencey that I don't understand.
Right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And then one of my favorite things, it's like, I don't like plan on murdering anyone, just FYI, FBI people watching this, because
That's what
you
we call
have
plausible
to.
deniability.
But it's like, just buy a generic trash bag and some duct tape. They'll never find you. Throw them in the woods.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you use tools, there are ways to track the tools. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's like terrifyingly easy to get away with murder.
Yeah.
Like, most people do it because they are idiots,
Right.
and that scares the shit out of me.
Right. Oh.
The only thing that scares me more is the thought of being like convicted by a jury of idiots. Like,
I mean, how else is it a jury of your peers if you, as an idiot, have murdered someone?
you're not wrong. Like, asshole cops, dumbass jurors, judges who are literally shitting themselves because they should have been recalled 30 years ago. Everything is broken.
Oh,
And I'm not even getting into the racist part. Like, it's all a mess.
everything's terrible, and I'm just
Sorry, I'm
smiling and
pretty bad.
laughing so that I don't go, sob some more.
Yeah.
I guess as a formal outro, that wraps up episode 3.
If you're still listening, thanks. I
Thanks.
hope our discursive nonsense was fun.
Yes.
I had fun. Did you have fun?
Sorry if we offended you about anything. Feel
not.
free
Fuck
to.
'em.
What?
I'm not. Fuck you.
I mean, I think we should leave it open. Like, maybe we said something that was horribly exclusive and racist,
fair.
and we don't know it because we live in the Midwest.
I will absolutely hold myself accountable to that possibility.
100%.
Yeah.
So,
But I hope everyone had fun, because I sure did.
did you?
I sure did. Yeah. I feel like
Shitting
this
all
one went
over the
better.
shitty episode?
Yeah. No, it was good. I don't think I shit on it too much.
No, you
Um,
didn't.
No, it was fun. I think this one went
No,
better.
but had they gone to Canada,
Mulder and Scully had gone to Canada.
had they gone to Canada, I'd have been like,
Fighting.
no words from you.
Actively fighting right now.